I'm really excited because today is our kickoff of our Census 2020 Complete Count Committee. And I'm really excited because two wonderful, dedicated people to Baltimore have joined me, and that is Congressman Elijah Cummings and Senator Barbara Mikulski. Some of the council members will probably come in and out because they have a luncheon that's taking place at this same time. But we thought that we should go ahead and move forward with this because we realize that tonight there will be a resolution introduced by our City Council in favor of this really robust 2020 count. We need people to really understand how important this count is. As the chair of the U.S. Conference of Mayors Census Task Force, it has been my responsibility for other cities to make sure that they have their timeline in place and that they understand the importance and the significance of this count. And I'm so grateful to have these individuals join us because as our senator came to meet with me to make sure that we understood how important this count was. And as she said, she's not interested in running this process, but she wants to make sure that we understand how important it is to get this count and to get it right. Census data informs us of federal funding formulas for programs that impact the quality of life in our city. And it is the main reason that we must make sure that we get this count done and we get it done right. What I want both of my colleagues to understand is that at the state level, Congressman and Senator, we passed law to make sure that we even count ex-offenders or offenders who are incarcerated currently in the place in which they live. Not in Hagerstown, not in Frederick County, but if you lived in Baltimore City and you're incarcerated, we must count you in the city that you come from. This also includes a variety of health programs for young children and seniors. And while we've lost will lose one of the greatest health commissioners across the country, we realize that health funding is important. When you think about Be More Babies and minoxidil and all of those things, when we think about drug addiction and the issues that you face and the upcoming legislation that will push funding for drug addiction forward and homelessness, all of these things will matter to us. Each person uncounted is an equivalent of almost $1,800 in loss of federal funding for every single year for the next decade. This count impacts our city for the next decade. In addition to the federal funds that are at stake, a complete and accurate count mandated by the Constitution, and it is at the very foundation of our democracy. Census data also informs redistricting as it relates to the political representation. We want the lines to be drawn correctly. We don't want gerrymandered parts of our city or our state. We want to make sure that we have representation at the city level, at the state level, at the congressional level. It is important to our city. I'm so proud that the state of Maryland has joined other states in fighting for the removal of the question as it relates to your citizenship. The count is not about your citizenship. The count is about where you reside and the services that you use as a result of that. So I stand in solidarity with my other mayors around the country who are concerned about the hard-to-count population because they too must be counted. And so we're doing everything that we can to make sure that race and ethnicity is not limited in terms of the English language being provided. Income and religion and age are really important, but what we want to make sure is that the combination of these factors are likely to impact the census. That's why my team has been working for months now. I want to thank the planning department for all of the work that you've done thus far and the work that will ensue as a result of it. A complete count committee structure has been put together, and we want to reach out to every single Baltimorean, #BeMoreCounts. And in fact, Baltimore's first public workshop to refine our complete count action will take place on Saturday, September the 29th, and that's when Barbara and our congressmen are going to really come and rile up the crowd and let them know again that the roles that they play on that particular day are extremely important. I'm so excited to share today's launch with the honorary co-chairs of Baltimore 2020 Census Count Committee, Congressman Elijah Cummings and Senator Barbara Mikulski. This collective leadership community really will tie all of us together. I don't think there are any more befitting individuals to help us understand the importance of this count. I also want to thank our comptroller for joining us as well. While she counts our money, she wants to make sure that that every person counts as well. With that, let me begin by introducing our Congressman Elijah Cummings.
Thank you very much.
No, you're fine.
I want to thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Joan Pratt, and our members of the City Council for being here, and certainly to Senator Mikulski, I thank you. Senator Cardin and Senator Van Hollen wanted to be here. They could not because they are strong advocates for our census and a proper count. And you know that Congressman Sarbanes and Ruppersberger, all of us representing Baltimore City, they could not be here, but they asked me to make sure that I made it abundantly clear that this is a top priority for all of us, and they have continuously worked to make that happen. Madam Mayor, I am so glad that you have given me the honor of serving with my colleague and my friend, my mentor, Senator Barbara Mikulski. When Barbara was the senator from our state, she consistently made it clear that the census was something that was very, very, very important. And she put her blood, sweat, and tears into making it and making sure that making it happen properly and making sure that everyone was counted. And so I want to thank you too, Senator, because I know that you've got a lot of responsibilities, but to take time out of your busy schedule and your busy life, seems like you're more busy now than you were when you were in the Senate, to do this, I know it's important. And so I thank you. The census is indeed, as the mayor has said, the cornerstone of our democracy. It dictates the appointments in the House of Representatives and informs the allocations of hundreds of billions of dollars in federal funds. Federal funding formulas for transportation, education, and health programs are all based on census data. That is why it is critical that every person in Baltimore and across the country stand up and be counted in the 2020 census. Madam Mayor, I'm glad that you have said the things that you've said and you've made the commitment that you've made, because as Barbara Mikulski used to always teach us, we must be the ones who set the example for the country. And to see you take this on, and having worked on it for so many years, that will not only be good for our state, but good for our entire country. It is especially important for Baltimore to make sure that every man, woman, and child in the city is counted, because minority, immigrant, and low-income populations have historically been undercounted. As a senior Democrat on the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform in the House of Representatives, which has jurisdiction, by the way, over the census, I am intimately aware not only of the importance of the census, but of the problems we face in achieving a full and accurate count. The census is supposed to be nonpartisan. It is supposed to be conducted by experts who try to get the most accurate count possible. But the Census Bureau for years was underfunded, causing delays in development and testing of critical new technologies to help improve the count and hold down the costs. And the Trump administration is now politicizing the census by rushing to insert a new, untested question about citizenship that could discourage some people from responding to the census. That's exactly what we don't want. I'm proud that Maryland is fighting back in the accounts, in the courts to prevent this from happening. And I will continue, and I know along with my colleagues, Congressman Sarbanes, Ruppersberger, and of course our senators, to continue to fight that effort in the House. We cannot afford to play partisan games with something as essential to our democracy as the census. We must all stand up for Baltimore and for the Constitution, which requires every person living in the United States to be counted. And I am indeed honored to be a part of this. I'm going to give it everything I've got, along with my buddy, Senator Mikulski.
Thank you. With that, we'll hear from our Honorable Senator Barbara Mikulski.
Watch it, be careful.
Today, I'm so proud to be here with the mayor, who is leading the national charge for Census 2020 and is leading the local charge to make sure that Baltimore gets its fair share of federal funds and it is represented appropriately when redistricting is done. I am so strong on the fact that we need a good census. Everybody counts and everybody needs to be counted. We need to be able to organize and mobilize starting now to plan to do the census. Why is it important? Well, first of all, the Constitution requires it. So if we want to be good citizens, we must participate in the census. Second, it determines primarily most of the federal funds that will come to Baltimore and all subdivisions. It determines the money from mass transit to Medicaid, from special education to school lunch programs, and how much we will get for the Older Americans Act. So no matter what age, what stage, what zip code, we will all benefit from the census and getting our fair share. That's what it's about, getting our fair share. We do that by making sure everybody is counted, and in this country everybody does count, and then be able to proceed from there. So they say, well, it's in 2020. What are we doing now? It's never too early to get ready for the census. What we are doing under the mayor's leadership and working with Congressman Cummings here, as well as encouraging others in the state to form their local communities, is to begin to organize. The mayor will be hosting a committee later on this month where everybody's at the table to make sure that no one is left out or left behind. We have many populations that are difficult to count: the homeless, the elderly that are homebound, the children, where we need to make sure to be able to do this. What we want to do is have a community counts committee. That's what the mayor is organizing, so we can look at what are the great assets. We say to business, we need you. We need you to be a model employer to make sure everybody who works for you fills out the census. We need you to be a model employer to do an inventory of your assets, to see what you can bring to the community to make sure that you facilitate the census being done. We all need to be in this together. When I think about the fact that in $1 trillion budget, so much is done by the formula. So when we think about the fact that we do need mass transit, this helps determine that.
That's right.
When we think about our children and the Children's Health Program, and we want to close that disparity. When we think about our education and want to close the achievement gap, we want to make sure Baltimore gets its fair share. But we in Baltimore are good neighbors. So this isn't about Baltimore competing with other counties. Right. We encourage every county in Maryland to form a community counts committee. Every county in Maryland to make sure everybody counts. We want no hidden figures, and if we miss this census and don't do it the right way and get everybody counted, we will lose out for 10 years. Wow. 10 years of lost revenue and lost opportunity. So we look forward to working with the mayor and with all of you, because doing the census is going to be everyone's job, and we look forward to doing the job the right way and to make sure that we get our fair share.
Excellent.
Thank you, thank you. Let me ask our comptroller if she wanted to share a few words, and our council football.
I just want to make sure, I want assurance that everyone that should be counted is counted. I want to make sure that the numbers are accurate because as the congressman and the senator said, it's very important that we get our fair share because if we don't have an accurate count, we will miss out for 10 years, and that would not be good for Baltimore City.
Just really briefly, I want to first thank Mayor Pugh for convening this important work, and of course, Senator, who at one point represented my district in Southeast Baltimore, as well as our congressman and all the folks. Just to say another population that is often undercounted is our immigrant population, of which in Southeast Baltimore we know we have a growing population of folks from all around the world, and it is so critically important that they are counted as well and that all of us are counted. So again, thank you, Madam Mayor, for all of this work.
Let me again just re-emphasize, this is the most important thing that we can do right now. Get focused on getting everyone counted, every single population. And remember, we're a welcoming city, so we want to make sure that every single citizen gets counted. And I think if you leave here with nothing more to remember, it's that what we do as it relates to this count will impact our city for the next decade. So thank you all for joining us.
Very good. Very good.